You guys love the community has spoken. And more people actually replied to that video than the actual polls themselves. Thank you so much to everyone who participated and got that video to where it is. And thank you so much for these comments because a lot of them were very thoughtful. I still want to say these are very important for the game. And honestly, Jurassic Blocky is starting to make some real progress. And we're seeing it as we continue playing. So without further ado, let's get right into it. We are making rapid ascent towards 1,000 subscribers. And I would so greatly appreciate that we hit that milestone because that is a huge milestone for me and my channel. So I encourage you to subscribe just for the sake of let's continue making a great community. Alright, let's get back into it. Roko says, Spinosaur JP3 remodel and add his heavy so I can defeat those Indom teamers. A really interesting point that was made by the Jurassic Blocky devs is that teaming is something that just cannot be fixed. And teaming is more of just a thing that happens with certain lobbies. Honestly, I think there is validity to that you can't control the player base, and we know that for a fact because so many games have tried. But what I can say is that the Jurassic Blocky community is not just these wild animals. And so discouraging teamers is a lot easier than one would originally think. To be honest, Indom teamers are not really what I see the most of. It's usually the tier 3s, Giga, Rex, and Spino. And that's because that's the middle ground. People often don't have Indom or D-Rex to team with, and so it becomes less of a problem with those specific dinosaurs. In order to discourage teaming, I don't really have a certain way to do that. Again, it's a very complicated and hard topic, but there's got to be a little bit of, a safety precaution around these things because it does make the game incredibly unfun. Whether Jurassic Blocky can fix it or not, they have to know that it's part of the game that a lot of people really, really hate. So why is it something that people hate? And how can they fix it? Well, people hate it because it gets in their way of their normal gameplay, right? Like, imagine just sitting down, talking with someone, looking at new animations, or you're grinding for Indom and you're 1v1ing, and then someone just murders you. And then you have to respawn and go all the way back to where you were, only to die again and again and again because people keep spawn camping you or teaming on you. Or you just can't get a kill for your life and your coins are just not coming in because these two people are working together to kill you every single time. That in itself is unkillable. You can't kill that behavior. But what you can do is entice them a different way. And so by creating a new game mode, they could basically effectively divert the attention from the battle arena style over to a different style to get rid of that stupid teaming behavior. Because remember, that happens when people are bored. JB, I hope they add an eating animation for the goat. Honestly, I know for a fact that this one is something they can absolutely do, and it would make the game feel so much more engaging. Imagine if you had the Therizinosaurus, right? And instead of just, the swipe, it turns red and falls over. You swiped it and you hit it like the deer from Jurassic World Dominion. You know how cool that would be? And the reason I say this would be so much easier to implement than, other things is because player-to-player interactions run through the server. So when you're coding, you're running that through Roblox's server. Everything, all the interactions, the placements of all, the physical objects, all those are being crunched into numbers and run through the server. The goats are not that. The only thing that runs through the server with the goats is the actual coins that you get from it, which is not hard at all. You just add +10 to the player count that they currently have. The goats' actual animations run through the game, and they don't run through Roblox's server like a multiplayer game like Jurassic Blocky does. And that's why we often experience so many glitches with the heavies and big physical attacks, and that's because it's running through Roblox's server and not the base game. Honestly, I like the one with the Theri idea where it's hitting it out of the way like it did with the deer. I also like the idea of maybe having Giga burn the goat with a fire ability, or having the T-Rex crunch the bones or something. Obviously nothing gruesome, it's still got to stay within a Roblox game, but there is so much potential for this, and so I give this one a thumbs up. I wish they added actual dinosaur sounds to the idols, like growling, or just, I don't know. And for jumping, I wish they added an actual animation. Jumping animations are kind of a necessity for me. Mostly because that weird feel between like we're running and the running animation is really smooth. It just kind of takes me out of it when like it just like hovers up when it jumps like a Roblox character. Like it kind of sets me back in Roblox, and that's not what this game in specifics wants. That's why you don't play as the Roblox character, right? Like with Chaos Theory, the game on Roblox, you're playing as a Roblox character still. And so it doesn't really take you out of the game when you jump like that. For this game, it absolutely does. Like seeing the little hover. Now, honestly, this isn't a huge problem, but Jurassic Blocky has expressed, these minor updates. Like, and it's not like way out of, like, this is something that they're totally eventually going to do. It's just, it takes time, and animations are pretty tedious to make and have animated over time. Like, remember, those frames are still being made one by one. And so, I feel like it's coming. It's something that I think takes you out of the experience quite a bit when you see it just like hover jump. But it's something that, they already plan on adding. It's something that most games just kind of, it's like a refining touch to the final game. Now, dinosaur sounds are something that are much easier to implement. The actual hard part about it is finding those dinosaur sounds. They could run the original Jurassic franchise sounds, which would honestly not be terrible because, that's what people are used to. Just not every dinosaur has close-ups. So, like, Triceratops has that scene where it's sick in the first movie. A lot of Triceratops sounds would be really good for that, just, like, making those grunts and growls and things. But other than that, it's going to be pretty hard to find, like, the larger kind of carnivores, like those idle sounds. So they'd have to source it from other sources. But, yeah, I'd say this is an absolutely great thing that they could possibly add, yeah. It would be cool if they added Majunga. Also, I want Draconosaur. Majungasaurus is a dinosaur that they're 100% adding at some point if this game doesn't die out. Like, this dinosaur is a no-brainer. Majungasaurus is just kind of an icon as a dinosaur, which is kind of surprising to me. Like, why Majungasaurus? Little stub bro. Little stubby arms Carno without the horns. But Majungasaurus is absolutely coming to the game eventually. I don't know about that second one, though. Reaper Theory is not really a priority, so I don't really see them caring too much about this. But again, little balance changes will happen eventually. I would like to see Nothosaurus inside of Jurassic Blocky. Nothosaurus, man, okay. This is one that I think I have a very good opinion about. Now, we have all been wanting physical interactions in, like, surrounding areas. Like, certain dinosaurs are able to climb, like trees and stuff. Certain dinosaurs are able to fly, swim. Like, physical interactions with the surrounding area. And that's incredibly hard to do. But as we've seen, they're kind of hinting towards we're getting closer to that. Right now, they're focusing on PvP, and that's actually really good for the game because that's what the game is centered around. But after that stage, what are we going to be looking at? We're going to be looking at game-changing elements, and the best possible game-changing element that they could start out with is physical interactions, man. And what is the best dinosaur that they have not added that could be both a swimmer and a land animal? Now, had they waited out on D-Rex and Reverse Spino, that would have been probably the best possible time to update, but they jumped on that train and they got D-Rex and Reverse Spino and Mutodon all out in the same time, which gotta commend them for their effort. But we have Nothosaurus now in the books. It could potentially be an amazing addition to the game as the first dinosaur to be able to swim in the rivers on the map. You know what would be even cooler is if it had an ability, like they've been hinting that abilities have been very much mentioned, and abilities are something that they're very much into. Nothosaurus could have an ability to only have a heavy when in water. It could have a land heavy and a water heavy. That alone would make it the coolest dinosaur in the game. What if they added maps so we could choose any map? So we can go like to the Rebirth map, or the Halloween map, or the Christmas map, or the old map. This is something a lot of people have proposed. And honestly, it's really hard to implement. Think about it this way. For every single map is you splitting the player base. And so if a server has the option for 6 maps and there's only 20 maximum players, then that would become a real problem. So then what would you do? Well, you'd split each map up into an individual server. So a maximum of 20 people can join each server. Well, here's the problem with that is that you're still splitting the player base. And honestly, it'd be kind of convoluted for a newcomer to pick a map, right? They wouldn't know where to go. They wouldn't know where the new stuff is. Imagine the bosses, right? Like, you'd have to implement something new for each map. And that's why it's so hard. Honestly, this is an amazing idea. So many people have so many different preferences, and all the maps have had quirks that have made them amazing. And honestly, one of the worst parts about this update is how long it's been. You know, like, the map has gotten really old for me because it's so enclosed. It's not a huge map with endless caverns and exploration and awesome new things, right? It's a really well-designed map that's a small map that has, you know, some really good core elements. But that doesn't make it invincible to Father Time. And so having the option for every single map would be a life-changing, like, for content creators especially, you'd be able to switch maps, which would be really good for, like, their little movies that they're making and creating the mood and, you know, setting things that are more important. Maybe you want to be with someone on this map because this map is more important to you because it's like nostalgic. You want to play in the old map because that's what you and your friends played on. But the problem is that lag might occur. And if they are able to fix lag, which is very possible, I mean, these guys are pretty smart. Like, honestly, a Roblox dev would be able to figure it out. It'd just take a lot of tedious work. If they were able to reduce lag, it would just take a ridiculous amount of work to implement. And honestly, in their current stage, they have too many things to focus on to really implement such a life-changing thing. Now, if they surprise us all and add this feature randomly, I will be more than ecstatic because I want to be able to switch through maps. It's something that I want to do. But honestly, I don't see it and I don't predict it in the foreseeable future. Now, I hope that they see this video and add it to their bucket list because it is something that would be life-changing to the game. And I think having a base map would be good for newcomers. Remember, you got to stay newcomer-friendly. That's how these games grow. But at the same time, you want to be able to appeal to your veterans, and that's a great way to do so. They need to add Smilodon. Smilodon is another canon animal that I feel would be pretty cool to see in the Jurassic Blocky landscape. Unfortunately, it is not a prehistoric reptile and therefore does not count as a dinosaur. So I think it's probably in the back seat. I mean, we haven't even got flying reptiles yet. Swimming reptiles haven't been added. I mean, Mosasaurus was dead on a beach, but that was about it. It was showing how desolate the water reptile base was going to be. But Smilodon is one that's very cool. Smilodon is something I see in the far future as an update. But remember, they're going to keep focusing on PvP, and then eventually they're going to focus on like kind of the whole game revamp, and then they can start to focus on more important things and less important things, very much less important things. A game revamp is like the biggest possible thing, but less important things like adding prehistoric mammals or adding prehistoric flying reptiles or adding prehistoric water or more interactions or more abilities and making an actual game out of it.
Never underestimate the Gawamimis.
And that is a new batch of top comments that I think were respectable, except for the Gawamimis one. Those are my opinions, and honestly, there are a lot of great things that you guys have recommended. I can once again encourage you to subscribe and comment down below if you have another thing that you guys want to add, because so many of you have great opinions, and honestly, you guys are some of the most opinionated people I've ever met. And so going over these opinions means a lot to you, and it means a lot to me. And honestly, I'm sure it means a lot to the JB devs. So keep throwing comments down there. And please sure to like and subscribe. And guess what? Have a good day. Zillablade out.